Welcome to the Fearless Floyd Show. We'll begin in 2 minutes. So let's dig in.
Yeah. And basically, in a lot of that funding, most of when a person hits, let's say, the billionaire range, they're going to meet MJ12, and so some of them will make a deal with them, and some of them they really don't want to fight with per se. So they'll allow them to be independent, but they won't be able to go as far as they might have gone otherwise. Hughes was definitely in league. Howard Hughes, I think it was, right? The big, multi-millionaire, etc. And matter of fact, a lot of his technology and a lot of the stuff he came up with came from reverse engineering as well as the Philadelphia experiment.
Yeah, so, absolutely.
Yeah. He knew a lot about a lot of that stuff. And see, Martin Luther King was always like, say, in the mix per se, as far as he would meet a lot of these people and he would try to get them to come and to go the right way. So a lot of his knowledge came from ministry, but MJ12 was basically afraid of, would he, let's say, keep silence or whatever, or would he talk, and how much does he know? And the main thing that got them was then he decided that, hey, there's only one way it's going to get done. And that's by his march to Phil Washington and to demand that things be done. And so at that point, for them, he crossed the line. And so then basically they go to their database and they look at the possibles that could do the job. And they pick they'll just go down the line. They'll take their first choice first. And if the first choice doesn't want to do it for some reason, they'll usually, if they're really good, they'll save them for something else. And then they get to where they've got somebody who says, yeah, I'll do it. And they go from there. So with me, I was their first pick on a lot of stuff. And most of it I did because I thought I was doing what was right, including a couple of eliminations of threats to national security in Vietnam, etc. And I found out that they were innocent. And that's when I found out that the Viet Cong were going to some of the shop holders and stuff. And it was like they were using the mob deal, pay your fire insurance or you're going to burn. And they would say, you pay us so much money each month, or we're going to put you on our list as one of our high valued cooperatives, and the Americans will kill you. So America was the Guido for the Viet Cong. America was the kill team for the Viet Cong. And I told them, I said, guys, you're helping the enemy because we're doing exactly what they say. They put this name on the high value. We don't investigate. And I told them, I said, we don't even really need to investigate. All we've got to do, kidnap the list, take the list to Gitmo. Now the list is out of the way. They're not dead. And then we can see if there's a difference made. So if we take this person out and take them to Gitmo, and all of a sudden we're getting more victories and the Viet Cong are having problems, then we know we've got a really good cooperative who, is working with the VC. I said, then we could simply tell them that, guess what? Your buddies turned you in, and try to flip them and get them to work with us. If they go to Gitmo and there is no difference in the war, we know there's somebody that the VC was twisting their arm to get money, and that should be an easy flip to get them to work for us. We'll give them the money to give to the VC, and then we'll give them false information. A little bit of it will be right, but it'll be enough wrong that it'll put the VC on the wrong track and we can get another victory. They didn't go for it.
Right.
And I told him, I said, I don't like killing innocent people.
Really?
Yeah,
How kind of you.
Yeah. So I told him, I'll kill an enemy, but yeah, So and at that point, I said, you're not giving me any more of these assignments because I'm not doing it. I'll tell you right now. And I stopped that one.
Right. Yeah, that weighs on your conscience after a while.
Yep.
Right. Okay. Dive back into MLK. All right. So James Earl Ray, obviously a patsy like Oswald, Sirhan, which we've covered in the previous 3-part Brother series. So who actually were the shooters? Were those contractees, again, like they utilized with the JFK assassination, the RFK assassination?
I think James Earl Ray was probably the one who actually did the shooting, but he had a CIA agent behind him. And if he didn't shoot, the CIA agent would have taken both of them out. So his backup had his back the wrong way.
Okay, yeah, one of those double headshots. Yeah.
That's the kind of stuff they do, and then they tell him, hey, look, all I've got to do is kill both of you, you know, I kill you. I killed Martin Luther King with the gun you were holding. And then I claim to be the one who killed the murderer. And I'm still the hero. And you're still the villain.
Right. Okay. So King's assassinated. Obviously, we know what the purpose was of his assassination was to quell the entire civil rights movement, the Black movement, the Black Panther movement, et cetera, et cetera. A lot of sociological change was happening there in the late 60s.
Right.
We could flow into 1969 with, the Rolling Stones at Altamont with the Hells Angels stabbing, which kind of set the tone going from the peace, love, hippie flower movement, sexual freedom of the 60s, moving into a more tumultuous time of the 70s, which we had we're kind of in the middle of, I'm not even say, I'd say we're about 3/4 through the Vietnam War because we had already been there previous to our public incorporation to the Vietnam War.
Yep.
We were in there, what, 62?
We were in Cambodia and we were in Vietnam. Actually, more around. I think they started sending advisors around 54, 55.
Wow.
To deal with the government, and secret agents were there 54, 55, and they were training some of the Cambodians, etc. And then it just kept escalating. But we had advisors there in the 50s. And then their excuse was, well, we've got to be there in secret because we got Korea going on and we can't have two wars going on at the same time. People will be fearful that it'll break into World War III, and all that. And so that was their excuse then for hiding stuff. And the ones who actually sponsored, trained, and instigated all the violence of the 70s is MJ-12. They did that on purpose to prove to America, because Kennedy said was going to further the peace and freedom deal. And we're at peace now. We can go all the way. And that's why they assassinated Kennedy and went against that whole thing. And then they started training people like the Hells Angels to be violent, etc., and stab them in the back and make sure they got violent in order to say to the whole world, you cannot live without us.
Wow.
Yeah. And they flat ass said that. They said, we instigate wars. We built the Hells Angels. We built these different groups because we will prove to the world cannot exist without us. Smear and fear. Crazy. Yeah. That's right. The fear part of, But I tried to do smear and fear the right way. I said, well, smear and fear is good if you're using it the right way, but every tool can be used for wrong or for right.
That's nuts. Okay, what else can you tell us about MLK or the MLK assassination?
There again, all of the people who should have been investigated were protected, and then they investigate and smear anybody they can that's even close to it, and they would pull people in to participate in remotely or whatever in order to be able to smear them and or threaten them and blackmail them to go their way, even going after Martin Luther King. So they basically tried to put off all of that and prevent integration for as long as they could. Fortunately, the seed of, look, why are we, saying these people are so different, and people started looking more at history. Hey, look, and people start saying, you know what? I mean, slavery is wrong, and then putting these people down is wrong, And then, hey, look what we did to the American Indians. You know, that was wrong. So more people started doing self-examination. So the group they would have to handle started growing beyond being easily handled. So now they had to start influencing that group in a different way. So what did they use? They added lust to smear and fear. Dangle the carrot in front of the person and get them to desire that carrot above all things. Use women, use sex, use gold, use jewelry, use power. And if people would look, they started taking over all of these professional election committees right about Kennedy's time. From Kennedy on, election committees and elections started getting more and more expensive. More and more media involvement. See, and they started telling the media, look, we can make you a whole bunch of money. Work with us. Lust for money, lust for power. You know?
Right.
And you guys will be able to do this, and we'll get the FCC to look the other way. You can do this, we'll get the FTC to look the other way. You can do this, we'll get the FAA to look the other way.
Right.
And that's where we evolve into today. And then they try to call, well, any kind of, if you speak against somebody, that's wrong. We've gone from slavery is wrong to having an opposite opinion is wrong. If it's an opposite opinion against the ones who don't want you to have that opinion.
Right. Yeah, they're doing that in Europe, where
Yeah.
you speak out, and then they put you in prison.
Yeah.
It's
in
insane.
third world countries. See? You bet. and they participated in a lot of these third world countries fake elections where the people knew they had elected somebody else and they had riots, and they were using them to perfect being able to pull a fraud in our election. And Trump won clearly, but in the recounts, Democrat votes are going up because they have programs that can grab those votes, and a Republican that voted on election day, Republican, they can turn it into a Democrat vote and make it look like it was done on election day. That's why I told Trump and all of them, we need Elon Musk basically getting after some kind of a computer system that can find these things that they're going to change and prove it. And this time, if they want to try and claim victory late in the game, etc., if the numbers are going to suddenly change or start changing, with Trump, he was the victor, and all of a sudden there was hundreds of thousands, a sudden change. See? And I said, you guys had better be ready for it this time, and this time we need to be able to put the Electoral College on hold and have an investigation. And Elon Musk had better have the stuff that can find it and expose it.
Right. Elon?
Yeah, Elon Musk.
Okay. Wow, he's got quite a task on his hand.
Yep. And Elon, actually, I mean, he knows a lot. He's been involved in a lot. If we shut down MJ12, we can have a lot of technology that will change a lot of things in positive ways.
Okay. Anything else you want to add on to Martin Luther King's story?
All I can think of is prayerfully that, and then what was done with trying to kill Reagan and what was done with Trump. Prayerfully, that's going to wake up the people enough, and they will remember long enough, and they will get the idea in them and keep it that if we do not stay on top of this, it will return. You know, if you take, let's say, well, like a kleptomaniac, and a kleptomaniac embezzles $1 million from a bank, and then that kleptomaniac gets rehabilitated. You don't put him in charge of $1 billion with no supervision again, because that weakness is there, you know?
Right.
And with me, I became the prodigal son. And I told him, I says, I don't want to go the way of like the televangelists, like Jimmy Stewart or Jimmy Swaggart and those guys.
Right.
And I tell my people, if I'm counseling, if I'm counseling a woman, the doors are wide open. And normally I want another guy and or gal there with me. See? And I tell them, I do not want to be left alone with a woman, any kind of female, whatever. I don't want to be left alone where I could be accused of anything wrong at all. With me, I want all my stuff out in the open with witnesses that I can trust.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm the same way. You know, it's so easy to toss out false accusations
Yeah,
and totally destroy somebody's reputation.
right. They tried it with me on another deal where I took a dishwashing thing and I was helping this restaurant with my recipes and stuff. And then the guy comes and he says, forget what I owe you and give me all your recipes, or me and my girls are going to claim that you sexually molested them. And then the defense attorney, a public defender, lied to me. He says, well, Noel, I said, you got to plead guilty to aggravating a minor. I said, wait a minute. I said, are you telling me that California law has got so bad that if you make a minor angry, you can be prosecuted? He says, yeah. He said, it's a misdemeanor, 15 days jail or whatever, but it's, that's it. So I said, man, I did not purposely make any girl angry, but whatever. So I went ahead and pled guilty. I went 15 days in jail, but I met the guy that I built the fishing deal with in there, and I ministered. And I even heard the guards, this guy's not guilty. You can tell that because I'm ministering to all the prisoners. They put me in a holding cell where these guys saved the toilet for people who tried to witness to them. And I started singing Amazing Grace to the tune of the House of the Rising Sun. And at first they're like, oh, and all of a sudden God hit me like an 800-watt megaphone. And boom, I boomed it out. And they're going, oh man, we thought you were kidding. Do you know this one? Do you know this one? Do you know this one? And those guys were getting saved. At the end of it, now you got to go register as a sex offender. I said, whoa, wait a minute. I did not plead guilty to anything sexual. And the sergeant says, well, that's what this is. I said, my attorney did not tell me that. I went across the street to the public defender's office, and I told him, I says, I want to see the head man, or I'm going to make splinters out of this place. I will give you a reason to put me in jail. And I told him what his attorney did. We went back to court, and he admitted to court that the attorney admitted to him what he did. They fired that attorney. We got it put back on for trial. And after trial, I found out one guy, before we even presented our side, one guy said, today's the day we send the preacher up the river. And the first vote was 11-1. The other 11 didn't vote not guilty. They wrote down innocent.
Wow.
And then, and the girls contradicted one another. And so then I went outside, and the prosecutor was out there. And I told him, I says, hopefully you know what you've got now. He said, oh, you should have heard what they told me when they came out. They threatened to do the same thing to him. And I said, then now you know what you had from the get-go. And then the next day, papers read that the charges were totally dropped because it was felt that a second trial would not produce a guilty verdict.
Right.
And then,
Yeah.
then the judge, I think, ordered it expunged and stuff. You know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I am arm's length, open door, windows open, plenty of witnesses, please.
Exactly. Yeah, I won't even date a woman who has a child that's under 18 for that
Yeah.
reason.
Yeah.
When I was in prison, of course, I was a jailhouse lawyer. They call it a writ writer in Texas prisons, and I can't tell you how many trial records I read where the convicted felon in front of me, who's now a sex offender, is expressing to me that this never happened, that she made all of this up, and the prosecutor ran with it, and there was nothing they could do.
Yeah.
One of those people, his name's Bobby Doak. I don't even know if he's still alive. Last time I spoke to Bobby Doak, he had given up all hope because I had actually done his writ of certiorari to the United States Supreme Court, because the guy who was doing it was just exhausted and just had no more argument left in him. So I went ahead and did it because I was fresh with the whole case. And of course, that was denied under a blanket written order, denied without written order, like they want to do. And he was going to eat himself to death, literally.
Oh.
Last time I saw him, he had, like a serving tray that you would see when you go to a restaurant and they bring out your drinks or your food.
Yeah.
You double meat cheeseburgers, overflowing of onion rings and French fries. I was like, damn. I said, you got a burger for me? He's like, no, man, I'm going to eat all this. I'm like, what? You're going to eat all that food? He's like, yeah, I'm trying to eat myself to death, Floyd. I was like, oh.
Kill himself with gluttony.
Yeah. What?
Yeah.
He goes, yeah, man,
Yep.
I can't do this life sentence. I can't do 40 years flat to come up for parole because I have aggravated sexual assault on a minor.
Yeah. I saw a guy go to prison in Oregon, and they allowed the doggone psychologist who said that the girls had been molested to coach the girls. And even, in other words, you're trying to say this. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. And the thing is, I knew it was phony. This guy had been on drugs. He got saved. I ministered to him. His wife wanted him to buy, his ex-wife. He left her because she didn't want to get off drugs. He said, I'm going clean. Got himself a clean Christian woman and started dating her. She wanted him to buy drugs. He refused. They accused him of child molestation 11 years ago. 11-year-old case.
Yeah.
Had never come to trial before now. And then they're coaching him all the way through, leading the witness and everything. And Oregon has this thing that, it's like a victim's right or whatever. And I don't hardly go to Oregon. I go to Oregon at Home Depot or something like that in my car and come back. I will not pick up any female hitchhiker, and I will not be alone, and I stay away from females and stuff in Oregon because what I saw in that trial. And it's one of these innocent programs is trying to get him a new trial. And I said, hey, I'll testify. That was the biggest miscarriage of justice I think I've ever seen. It was absolutely surreal.
Oh, yeah. Well, we can sit here, swap war stories about all that, but we're not going to. So, all right, let's close this up with MLK, because we definitely taken a ton of rabbit trails in this video, but it's given us
still covers injustice, just like MLK.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Any closing statements or new facts that you would like to bring to light regarding the MLK assassination?
Just that kind of stuff will continue and get worse if people do not stay level-headed, do not stay open-minded, and do the work needed to discover the real truth. And we've got to libel and slander should apply to politics. And it would not make every politician shut up, because the Supreme Court decision still gives a person a way to tell the people if somebody else is doing wrong stuff. They said truth is an infallible defense against libel and slander. Speaking the truth cannot be silenced, but the ability to lie can be turned loose like a hungry lion. And that is what has been happening. And we've got to work to stop that. We've got to work to kill that. We've got to work to reverse that. And that takes every American carrying their load. And we've all got a portion of that load. We can benefit together, and sometimes we've got to work together. Sometimes we've got to pay the price together. But it's got to be done. It can't be ignored, or we're going to be in worse shape than we are already.
Okay, well, that concludes MLK. We see this happening all the time. You know, I don't know whether it's related or not. I don't know if you know much about who Tyler Perry is.
Tyler Perry sounds familiar. And there's
He's
a bunch of them being accused that are innocent now.
Well, Tyler Perry is he started off as an actor, then he became a producer, director. Now he has a studio in Atlanta, Georgia, Tyler Perry Studios. He predominantly does black film for black folks with black actors predominantly.
Okay.
He does, throw in some whites for justification, I guess. But anyway, the president of his Tyler Perry Studios just passed away in a plane crash.
Wow.
Now, Tyler Perry is alleged to, well, he does. He has a replica of the White House in his studios, and it is alleged that he has utilized this studio of the White House for filming of the Biden administration's activities. And of course, he's supported by Oprah, who's one of his mentors.
Okay.
And now you see the kind of connection. So as soon as I saw that this guy had died in a plane crash and the plane was purple, which is an odd color for a plane, and the plane was upside down.
One you can sure not miss. That way you get the right one.
Yeah. And we'll close with, what are your thoughts on utilization of plane crashes as an assassination tool for intelligence agencies?
Well, any plane that is computer controlled, they can hack into the computer and take it down. That's why with me, if I'm going to travel on a plane, I'm going to travel as secret as I can get. And definitely, I'm going to be praying all the way that God guards the computer. And matter of fact, when I rented a computer controlled vehicle, I didn't know that I rented a Camry when my 95 BMW had mechanical problems, and I'm not too sure, but what something wasn't done there, because my deal to put the top up fell through like it wasn't even attached. And so it's at the mechanics now. And I found this Camry for rent, and that Camry definitely had either computer problems or they were going into the computer to control it, because it almost took me going over Donner's Pass. They got this cement median, big tall cement median between the north and southbound or east and west highways, etc. And it almost took me into that. There's a couple times it was squiggly, and I thought it was hitting ice and recovering. So I stayed at Boomtown overnight and figured, well, I'll go on dry roads tomorrow. And even on the way home, coming across the flats on dry roads, it'd speed up, slow down, drift to the side. And my son told me to watch for this deal. It's like a fog control deal that keeps you on the road, and it recognizes the line. and it brings you back in between the lines. And he said, basically, don't turn your blinker on, go across it, etc. And I said, and he showed me a picture of it. I said, well, the light's not on. And I went across the line and back and forth across. I said, no. He said, okay, turn it on now. See, the light's on, lights on. I got close to the line and it moved me back. I said, okay, well, that seems to be working okay. But I said, I don't want it on. I turned it off and I slowed down to about 50 miles an hour. And I'm going down the road and all of a sudden a truck is coming at me with the lights on and it had kind of like high beam. And that car started heading right for that truck over into the other lane for a full frontal, like I was passing somebody, head-on collision. And I had to forcefully jerk it back into my lane. And then I pulled to the side of the road, turned it off, left it off for about 20 minutes, and then turned it back on and went on home at about 50 miles an hour. And Budget Avis car rental was going to charge me for it anyway. And I called with my credit card company. And I said, hey, I did not have 1 minute of peace in that car. And when I got back here, I unloaded the car. And then, well, I unloaded the next day. And then I tried to get a hold of management. And I couldn't get a hold of anybody. I called the airport over there. That was where the managers usually were. And they're serving somebody else. And then I got a hold of this mall. And I said, well, I need a manager. And so then I called the next morning again. And I said, I'm trying to get a hold of a manager because I've got an issue that management needs to know about. And the gal said, what's that? So I told her what happened with the car. She said, oh, well, here's a number. Call this number and a wrecker will come pick up the car. So I did not have, I had basically one trip from hell, getting home, getting my stuff here, and that was it. And I said, as far as I'm concerned, that put me through a lot of stress. My blood pressure was high when I got here, and my heart rate was high on that one. And I said, I've rented a lot of cars from Budget Car Rental, and quite frankly, I would never charge a client for what I went through. I said, I would tell them I'm sorry, and quite frankly, I'd probably give them a free rental for the future. I'd give them a free week or two in the future,
Right.
And so I'm still handling that to see what's going to happen. But for me, I do not want to be in a computer-controlled plane. I don't want to be in a computer-controlled car, truck, bus. No computer controls, because they can definitely do you in taking over.
Well, let's go look at that real quick as we close out. Most people will know who Paul Walker is. You may or may not know who Paul Walker is.
I've heard the name.
He's an actor. He was most famously for the Fast and Furious franchise.
Okay.
And right here, Walker died in a single vehicle collision on November 30th, 2013, as a passenger in a speeding car. His father and daughter filed several wrongful death lawsuits against Porsche, which resulted in settlements. He was in the Porsche supercar. I'm trying to think of the model name. Anyway, they're $1 million cars. And he was riding in the passenger seat, and apparently the car took off at a high rate of speed and crashed right into a tree. At the time of his death, Walker had not completed filming Furious 7 of the Fast and Furious series. It was released after rewrites and stand-ins, including his brothers Cody and Caleb, both of whom filled in for him, were used to complete the film, while the song See You Again by Wiz Khalifa and Charlie Puth was commissioned as a tribute. So the conspiracy theory behind Paul Walker is that he was doing his own research and investigation into a topic that somebody thought he shouldn't stick his nose in. And when he got in this Porsche, somebody else was driving. Allegedly, the same thing that occurred with you in your rental happened to Paul Walker.
And it's the same thing that occurred to the guy that was on NCIS, the actor that died crashing into a tree, totally obliterated. And he was interested in real intelligence, and he was looking into MJ12 stuff.
Okay. Wow. All right. I better go lock my doors.
Yep. And the thing is, and actually, when I was at in Reno and 590 Lake Street, and I don't know if I showed you a picture already. I sent you some pictures. Now I had locked doors there, bolted and locked, and they can put stuff in the air system so you don't wake up. I woke up in the morning and I took a photo. They had come in and I had needle marks on both arms. Took blood, tried to inject something, but the drugs, they know drugs and poisons won't bother me. God protects me. But they probably took some of my blood, and I would not be a bit surprised, and we'll make a matter of record of this, if I'm accused of a murder and DNA is there, that's my DNA, it's from the blood they took. Right. I didn't do it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no doubt there. All right. Well, that puts another one in the can, in the books for Noel Benoist. The Martin Luther King story. And upcoming, the next video we're going to record will be the beautiful, infamous Jackie O, Jacqueline Bouvier Kennedy Onassis, fondly known as Jackie O, and quite the controversial person, even today, with her late son, JFK Jr., and what that looks like, and whether that plane crash was staged, arranged, or was a real plane crash. So we'll dive into that next with Noel Benoist. All right, Noel, anything you want to close with real quick?
Well, actually, and Jackie Kennedy was to John Kennedy what Melania is to Donald Trump. Jackie and John Kennedy had the Melania Trump and Donald Trump marriage, and she was an advisor to John. She was his rock, and she was the greatest first lady up until Melania. And had the thing with Kennedy not happened, she and Melania would probably be pretty much on equal level for first lady stuff.
That's quite easy to say, considering the first ladies we've had since Jackie O. Up to Melania.
Yeah.
Because we've had a man as first lady, but nobody wants to acknowledge that fact that Michelle Obama is Michael Robinson.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Isn't that's something? Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
And that's
all right. Well,
and I think I sent you a copy of Obama's actual birth certificate showing he was born with a foreign national dad in Hawaii. Yep. Live birth.
Yep, absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah. We'll dive into all that in these upcoming videos. I keep adding more and more and more. One that I added after we completed yesterday's conversations, cloning. What do you know about cloning?
That's where they got into also cloning and combining that with their program of getting people where they would make them look like somebody and replace somebody. And they were working on cloning in the 60s.
Okay. And then the offshoot,
they were already starting cloning in the 60s.
All right. And the I guess the twin to that would be a synthetic.
Right.
Which is
they were coming up with impersonators that they could make look like a person, and where they would have, like with me, where I would learn by audio visual, where a person could basically memorize a person's entire life, say in less than a month or whatever. And they were working on that, and then they were working on the cloning so that they could take the clone and train the clone and basically brainwash the clone to be the one that they wanted, and then they could replace the person they didn't want with a clone.
Or retire that person, put them off in happily ever after land, wherever that is. Yeah.
Yep.
All right.
Yeah.
Awesome. We'll close with that right there. Thank you
Right.
for being here. And I will conclude the show. And again, another fabulous show with Noel Benoist. I'm just so honored, humbled, proud. I just don't have enough adjectives to describe the unique position that my divine has put me in to be able to present you somebody like Noel with his vast knowledge, vast research, vast experience across multiple decades regarding world economics, world parapolitics, mainly in the United States. But as these conversations progress, we're going to get more and more topics, more and more information, and I will cover as much as this as I possibly can. As you saw from this video, Noel's blood pressure, so he's going through some health difficulties. So we're trying to document as much of his knowledge and story as we can for posterity purposes. Co-authoring a book together. Hopefully, I'll get that put together. So, all of you who are watching and pay attention to these videos, hang in there. You're gonna hear things you've never heard on any book, any TV show, film, documentary, public statements, etc., etc. So, thank you, Noel, for that. Thank you for your service. Thank you for your dedication, and thank you for wanting to come out and expose all this information to the world that you have accumulated over your lifetime. And again, I'm very humbled to be able to cooperate with you on that. So if you have not been watching the little banner that's going across here on the bottom, it's giving you updates on the upcoming shows. I've updated my website, so you can go on there as well, thefearlessfloydshow.com. If you want to email me, if you have any questions for Noel, if you have any topics that Noel has, kind of glazed over that you would like him to address on an individual show, email me, thefearlessfloydshow@yahoo.com, and I will set that up and get it in the books, and we will have a discussion about it and express to exactly what Noel knows about that particular topic or subject matter. Let me get over here and show you a couple banners because I've been working in the background as we have been talking. I do usually run holiday specials. I ran one for Halloween. I ran one for Thanksgiving, Black Friday, Cyber Week. Now I'm going to do 12 Days of Christmas. 12 Days of Christmas will begin on Christmas Day and will extend into January 5th and January 6th, Epiphany Eve and Epiphany Day. So look forward to giving you some special packages. This is the banner that you need to look for. The specials I will be putting together. So on the first day of Christmas, my true love gave to me a partridge in a pear tree. So Christmas Day, there will be one item special. The next day, 2 items. The next day, 3 items. Up until the 6th of January, which will be 12 items in a special. So look for them. I will run those specials for 12 days. They will run from the 25th to the 6th of January 2025. That's your 12-day opportunity to take part in the specials for books, packages, combinations. If you want something a la carte, reach out to me. I'm very generous, amenable. I will work with you. I do layaway plans. If you don't have all the money, you're on a fixed income. Send me a little now, a little later, I'm good with that. I'm not tripping on money. It's all about education, getting this information out to you as quickly and succinctly as possible. Upcoming shows we've already addressed. Jackie O coming up, Marilyn Monroe coming up, Incame Ultra, Warren Commission report, NSA creation, Roswell, Church Committee, deep underground military bases, Bob Lazar, cloning, J. Edgar Hoover from the FBI. We're going to go deep, deep, deep in a bunch of different avenues. So stay tuned. Thank you again, Noel, for being here. This show, MLK, debuts next Tuesday on December 13th. Sorry, December 17th. So look forward to that. Y'all have a great week. Thanks for watching. And I appreciate you all. Be sure and like, subscribe, share, hit that notification bell, leave a comment below. Again, if you want to reach me, the Fearless Floyd Show at yahoo.com. I am the Fearless Floyd Show across every social media platform. Mainly, I hang out over on Telegram for a reason. So come find me over there if you want to interact. I'll try to get better on other social media platforms. I'm looking to expand. I'm going to actually pay somebody to do web development because I have too many websites I need to get up to date, search engine optimization. If there's anybody out there who has experience with building internet sites, websites, and running them and has a search engine optimization experience, hit me up, email me. If you would like to call me, my phone works 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. Central Standard Time. After that time, it turns off and I don't even pick it up and look at it. So to get that phone number, go to my homepage, go to the very bottom. There's my cell phone number. Give me a jingle. If you have not nominated Dr. Ed Group to be a part of Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s Make America Healthy Again at the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, please go to the description below in this video or any one of my videos and click on the link and go nominate Dr. Ed Group to be a part of that team. This is the thumbnail. And of course, if you need some immune support for yourself, family member, friend, coworker, frenemy, whoever, or your cat, your dog, your pet, livestock, Fearless Floyd Pets. If you have any questions about those products, availability, shipping, contents, ingredients, anything like that, email me, fearlessfloydpets@gmail.com. I will not personally answer your question. People that are way more experienced and qualified will answer your questions, and that will be Diana and Kristen. And just email them with whatever topic you have, and they will address it for you. Very grateful for them. I'm going to do more videos with Diana and Kristen. We're going to break down and do a video for each individual product. So you'll be able to go and watch that video about, chocolate chip cookies, because they have chocolate chip cookies with mushrooms for humans. I guess you could give them to your dog as well. Your cat, if your cat wants them. But we're going to break down exactly everything about those individual products. So look forward to that. Thank you for watching. I'll see you when I see you. I'm right at 2 hours. So y'all have a great week. Thank you for hanging around after the show. I want to present to you Tailor Made Trust, featuring Ann LaFleur's Trust Series, available at tailormadetrust.com, as well as thefearlessfloydshow.com store. Here are a handful of the available trusts that can be built, custom tailored to your needs and desires. 25 different trusts, plus the DNA trust addendum. And as always, Ann LaFleur's classic trusts and ancillary classes, and also Ann's books on trust and specialty trust, which I also co-authored. If you'd like to get a class, a book, or have a trust custom built for you, always available at the fearlessfloydshow.com store. And I'll see you in the next show. Thank you for watching and have an awesome day.